Tell us your stupid thoughts when you first visited another country. When I went to Munich, I was walking down the street and wondering why there are 2 lanes on the sidewalk. Then a bike hit me. When I went to Munich, I wondered why everyone thought they were in München, but only for a split second. I'm from Guam, and the very first time I came to San Francisco, unbeknownst to me, it was the day of the Gay Pride Parade. I thought to myself, wow, this place is really gay. That had to be very confusing and weird for you. I live in California and go to San Francisco a lot, and it still is crazy or weird to me during the gay pride stuff. So many rainbows. My first visit to Canada from the US. Noted how cheap gas prices were, until we drove by a sign that mentioned the price was per liter, not per gallon. You just got metriced. Whoa, none of the graffiti in France is curse words. Turns out, the curse words were in French. In Italy, the graffiti curse words are in English. Don't ask me why. On seeing a Frenchman wearing a beret, riding a bicycle down a backcountry road with a baguette under his arm. Holy crap, they really do that. Whoa, how did that little girl learn to speak German so well? It took me years too. Oh, never mind. Speaking to tiny children with a better command of the language than you is a frustrating experience. I grew up in Japan and expected the US to be like the suburbs I would see on TV, where there would always be nice, white kids around my age. In my little mind, Seattle had floating buildings. I moved to the ghetto part of Alabama. Don't blame us for Alabama, that's Alabama's fault. I used to think I'm poor. Now I know that the simple fact that I'm a white male American makes me relatively filthy rich. I went to India and I learned just how wrong I was when I thought I was poor. To my credit though, I did spend 2 nights sleeping outside in India because I ran out of money. Spend 2 nights sleeping outside in India because I ran out of money. Go on. Nipple, why the heck are we driving down an alleyway? Oh wait, this is considered a main road here. Oh god, memories. In Jamaica, I started a timer from the point I cleared customs until someone offered to sell me marijuana. 11 minutes. Oh my sweet lord, a dog is driving that car. Anyone who has spent a little time in Britain can attest to having this fleeting thought at least once. You're just so used to seeing the driver on a certain side that a car will at some point zip by you and throw you into total confusion. I have spent a lot of my life in Britain, with the exception of a few holidays. All my life, I haven't had this thought. We call them woofascratchirafruffs here, for starters. When I was a kid, my family drove south of the border for an afternoon and visited the Mexico side of Nogales. I remember watching kids my age and younger wander around, selling chiclet gum to tourists. I got really mad and whined at my parents. Why don't kids in Mexico have to go to school? This is so unfair. I wish I could just never go to school again and sell gum instead. I was a stupid, spoiled child. You're the chiclet, not me. See you core. Driving through Germany, I thought Dortmund was a giant city because there were signs for it everywhere. Haha, that is adorable. When I visited Australia last year, I was told a few things. Aussies love Americans. All I'd have to do was walk in a bar and start talking. My American accent will bring all the girls to the yard. All of these things were true between 1941 and probably the early 50s. It was really surprising to me how much Australian culture mimics American. Forget about getting somewhere just by virtue of an American accent. They have access to so much American media that the allure is gone. They hear it all the time. That, and it's freaking hot in Perth. Moving to Australia, didn't know a single word of English, so my thought was Australians talk in a different language. Do they also laugh differently? I was pleasantly surprised to find that laughter was the same. When in Thailand, a girl approached me and started talking, then after 5 minutes asked to go with me to my hotel. I felt like a real playboy, until I realized the getting wasn't free. Chances are that she might not have been a girl anyway. Can they tell I'm American was my first thought. Spoiler alert, they can. It's the tourist sandals and Hawaiian shirt that give you away. Holy crap, they actually speak French. I guess I had a sneaking suspicion that they were just putting it on for movies. Got off the plane and my first thought was, man, there's a lot of foreigners around here. Whoa, this place is like 90% minorities. When I first moved to the US from Mexico, the teacher kept calling us guys and I thought she was calling everybody gays. Big WTF moment. This wasn't me and I wouldn't consider it stupid as much as just funny. When I was in high school, a family moved to my town from Kosovo and a few of the boys played soccer with me. The older one told us that when he first got to the US, he saw car washes everywhere and in Albanian car means penis. He thought America was amazing because you could go get your junk washed on every corner. We have some Swedish friends who find the name of the Pitt building hilarious. Pittsburgh is a pretty special name for the same reason. Dong City. Flew from Canada to England in March a few years back and the first thought I had coming off the plane was, wow, the grass is already green. I had to explain that in Canada the grass was still brown since the snow had just recently melted. Apparently England doesn't get the 4 feet of snow I'm used to. We're lucky if we get an inch of snow a year. Everyone crosses their fingers for a white Christmas in the UK. When the Edinburgh Festival starts, a lot of blue police boxes go up to allow for a greater police presence. I had already been in the city for 4 weeks when the boxes went up. So the first time that I turned a corner and saw a police box that hadn't been there the day before, I almost shat my pants. When I moved to Germany from Poland as a young wee lad, before there were really any non-Polish people in Poland, now there are a lot, I was given a bar of white chocolate by a black dude at some sort of an event. It was the first time I've ever seen white chocolate, so for the next couple years I was convinced that black people eat white chocolate, and vice versa. Jamaica, plane lands, I get off. Everyone is glassy-eyed and happy. Everyone also asks for money or if I want some weed. Conclusion, everyone in Jamaica is high as frick and sells weed to tourists. Actually turned out to be true. Oh, this is so true. When I went to Jamaica, some cab driver offered to drive my friends and I around all day rolling us joints. He didn't even ask for a price. He just kept saying whatever you think is fair is cool with me, brother. When I visited London recently, a car was sent to pick me up. The driver got out and took my bags to put in the back, and, without thinking, I got into the driver's seat. It took me a few moments to realize why exactly it was so cramped and uncomfortable. Canada is awesome. Gas is only 85 cents and the speed limit is 100. Ah crap, nobody speaks English. I'm sure they'll speak English. Nope. Oh. When I visited Vienna, Austria, I kept noticing the word Wien in the text on signs and thought, what can this mean? On the second day, while eating a traditional meal of wieners and pickles, I realized it's the way the Viennese spell the name of their city. Done. I did the same thing in Munich. My ex and I, Americans, traveled to Iceland and Denmark a couple of years ago. I swear we're not totally uncultured idiots, even though this story makes us sound like we are. When we got to the hotel in Reykjavik, we took one look at the bed, and it was not at all what we were used to. There was a large bed with 2 little pallets on top. Each one was human-sized shaped. It looked like it would be pretty comfortable to just lie down on a pallet and sleep. But A, we didn't understand where our sheets and blankets were, and B, it didn't look too conducive to snuggling. We shrugged our shoulders and did as the Icelanders do. Slept on top of the 2 pallets. The next day, we went off to Denmark and saw the exact same thing in the next hotel room. We were getting ready to call down to the desk to ask for a blanket when we realized that those pallets were the blankets. Just nicely folded up, one per person. Apparently, in that part of the world, each person gets her own duvet. It's an interesting concept, I guess. Must cut down on the nighttime battles for coverage. But there's something so nice about snuggling up under one big cover. Either way, the Icelandic maid must have thought we were the weirdest people, sleeping in our room and then folding the sheets back up exactly as they had been left for us. When I went to America for the first time, I couldn't find any doors on shops and such. They looked too much like windows, and were too wide compared to doors I was used to. Baja, Mexico. Oh, this will be a nice, fun, jail-free trip. In Italy, I initially had the impression that it was like other Western European countries, developed, and if not safe, then fairly well controlled by the government. Then I went to Naples. Here's a few unorthodox things about that place. The police didn't seem to venture outside of the train station. The Camorra Mafia are in control. There are not traffic signs of any kind, and lanes on the road are mostly ignored. You just go. Garbage just piles up until someone lights it on fire. Street vendors will try to sell 12-year-olds counterfeit porno DVDs. Also, I got peed on. I don't know how it happened. Someone must have been peeing out their window. I got peed on. Usually you have to pay extra for that. I went to England. Not a single police box or time traveling doctor. That you saw. I was born and raised in Korea, and as a young kid I always thought that there were only 3 types of people in the world: Asians, Caucasians, and black people. At the age of 8, when I moved to the States, I was actually kinda shocked to find that there were people that didn't fall into those 3 categories. Also, by American standards I was of average weight, but by Korean standards I was kinda chubby. Still am today at 5 feet 7 inches and 155 lbs, and was self-conscious of my weight, but growing up around American kids did wonders for my self-esteem. Yay, you discovered what a bankrupt concept race is. On a school trip to China, one of my first thoughts was, these people all look the same. On the bus ride from the airport to the hotel, our guide interpreter told us over the intercom, all you Westerners look the same to us. I never understood that. Westerners have different colored hair, eyes, freckles, builds, etc. The Chinese all have straight black hair, monolid eyes, are short, thin, etc. When I went to Nicaragua and every night I heard explosions outside and was told it was fireworks, but I always thought it was bombs and gunfights. It was probably both. Fireworks go all night so no one knows when it's gunfire. When I went to Austria before my freshman year of high school, I couldn't stop laughing at all the signs that said Infert. Also, Ausfert. I was 20 and it still made me laugh. When I was a teenager, I went to Tijuana and bought a switchblade and I paid the full asking price for it. The guy whose shop I bought it from probably closed early that day due to my stupidity. Sí, muchas gracias. Pude de cámara toda mi familia esa semana. I went to Canada and was amazed that milk really did come in bags. I thought that was a myth. Only Ontario. American here. I remember getting into my first conversation with an Englishman at a pub in North London. I remember subsequently thinking I thought they spoke English here. When I first came to the US I was shocked at the food portions. I remember going to a Mexican restaurant with my family on one of my first nights in the States. We sit down and they bring out basket after basket of chips with bowls of salsa. Our waitress comes and takes our order and we all decide to try the fajitas at her recommendation. After being practically full of chips and salsa, the server brings out the fajitas. Now, if you've ever been to a Mexican restaurant in the US, you know the deal. They'll bring out a sizzling hot plate of meat, a plate of lettuce, guacamole, sour cream and tomatoes, and that little lidded box with tortillas. My family stared in awe at how much food this was. Then we realized that we each got a set like this. It took us half a week and leftovers to finish that meal. I'm an American, and went to Europe for the first time last summer. I spent a month in Italy. The food there was amazing, but the portions were not enormous. It was always enough, though. I went out to eat when I returned to the States and couldn't even eat half of what was on my plate. Really put into perspective how stupid large our portions of food are in this country. Why is everything rusty? First thought in Central Europe. The remains of communism. I'm from the US, but I speak Spanish, which is often the second language on signs here. So when I was going to Vietnam, I thought, well, I will at least be able to read the Spanish listed below the Vietnamese. This is beautiful. Not necessarily stupid, but just realizing that I was often the only white person around. Holy crap, I'm a visible minority. Not to say that I suddenly understand how minorities feel day in and day out, but now I have an inkling. Just something as simple as the fact that people notice you. It never occurred to me that a black person or an East Indian would always be acutely aware when they are the only minority around. I went to France about a week after Inception came out. Every single time anyone stared at me, my immediate reaction was, crap, they know. You have been visited by the fashion doggo. Comment your envy strengthens me so you always look beautiful. Like and subscribe, you magnificent person.